Whoa!
But you know ahead of time at
I
least.
think we're live.
Oh my god!
Are we live? But wait a second.
It says we're live. Uh-oh.
Like
All right, everybody on their best behavior. We're live now.
Like right now.
Pull it together, people.
Get out. Like serious. You're still here? But I said
It stopped.
He said what?
Okay.
Pudding?
You said get out.
He said
Pudding.
get out.
Yep.
All right, show's over. He said get out. That's it. We're done.
Oh, okay.
Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Pudding! I mean, hello and welcome to the Tomb of the Terrible. I am your humble servant, UncleNecRo, and joining me tonight are Dell and her little squirrel pal, Friday in Chaos, Tom Dog, and Ron. So, how's everybody doing tonight?
Pudding.
I am
Alive?
I'm doing so exceptionally well. Okay, New York Comic Con just got over, and can I do a little ditty that I just wrote while that was going on?
Sure.
If you like James Tynion, like I like James Tynion and Michael Walsh and Jason Aaron too, then you should go and watch the show I just recorded with me and Leo and Drew. We just covered all the New York Comic Con on Flash Pages, the stories that we were excited about. Fuck yeah, it was so awesome. I'm like squeeing still.
Nice.
It actually makes me not sad about having to talk about this movie tonight. I'm like, I'm so full of love and excitement that I don't mind watching another Amityville thing.
In the
So,
greater
yeah.
scheme of things, this one wasn't as bad, so you probably shouldn't be too sad having to redo this one.
No, that's as well a good point. This one wasn't nearly the level of like Exorcism.
Spoilers, guys. Come
Right.
on. But
Yeah, Tom
yeah, I
Dog.
know. I know. I know the prospect of entering the tomb every week does fill me with a little bit of malaise, as well as it should everybody, because we hate you all. I mean, love you all. That was the word I was groping for. Anyway, tonight's movie, as I mentioned, is actually the Amityville Moon, which was released in 2021 and written and directed by Thomas Churchill. The Amityville Moon involves a detective hired to find two runaway girls from a boarding home run by the church. By the church, I mean obviously Catholic. After finding and returning one of the girls, the detective discovers a horrifying secret of the home, a werewolf killing and eating all the girls living there. So, diving into this, was this everyone's first time watching or no?
Yes.
So all across the board. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go around and talk about our first impressions of the movie. Go ahead, Del. Let us know what you thought.
Well, one exciting thing about this was that though it said it had Amityville in the title, and it was thus on our wheel as being one of the Amityville offshoots that I pulled off of IMDb, it isn't actually related at all to the Amityville horror. There is nothing except it takes place in the city of Amityville. This isn't something trying to actually steal the glory from the Amityville house. So that made it great already. Right. And I wasn't expecting much from it still, just because it was kind of I haven't heard of this one before, and it was no Howling, but it did the acting was not superb, but I was really impressed by what I saw and the amount of time and the effort that they put into certain parts of this. So that's I'll go into the likes and dislikes later, but yeah, I was impressed that this movie was made, and yeah, we'll give it that.
Okay, all right. Friday, what was your first impressions on this?
There was a few scenes that were like forced to make the plot move along that I was like, did we need to be that forceful? Other than that, my general impression was this is a lot better than the last couple we've watched, and it's not at all based on any of the other premises, and that gave it a better moving forward. Yeah,
Okay.
my first impression was, oh, thank God.
Okay.
You?
Chaos?
My first impression was, yay, something different.
Yeah, that after the last couple of weeks, I totally feel you. Tom Dog, what was your first impression of this movie?
My first impression, I was surprised that it was actually a movie. I know that the last times I've been here, including the one that I picked, I kind of trashed them all for the most part. But this was kind of like a breath of fresh air. Nothing really negative to say about it. And we'll, of course, we'll get to that. I know, on the good and the bad and everything. But yeah, it was a breath of fresh air that I didn't have to go into my usual rant about what I didn't like about the film. So yeah, and so it was a disappointment, but still, it's a but none of that. I had a good time with the film.
Wow. This may actually be a shorter episode of The Tomb. We'll see. But Ron, what was your first impression?
My first impression after the just horrendous levels of bad from all of the previous movies that we have watched with these Amityville series, my expectations were low. So then after I started watching it and I realized that it had absolutely nothing to do with the Amityville series. In fact, they don't even mention the word Amityville at all in the course of the movie. I think it's shown on screen once to let you know that it takes place in Amityville, New York, and that's it. Other than that, this is a standalone movie, and for that reason, it was so much easier to get into it and to be way more objective about the movie.
Yeah. It sounds like all across the board we were pretty much surprised, shocked that we actually watched a good Amityville movie. Technically, Amityville movie, because in my notes I wrote down, "Wow, we actually watched a decent film." I don't know how to feel about that. So,
The Tomb of the Not So
a little
Terrible.
bit of trivia here. Yeah. Wow, and I'm surprised this isn't going to implode in on itself here. So, a little bit of trivia. There wasn't a lot that I could find other than the director/writer Thomas J. Churchill has two other entries in the Amityville franchise. The Amityville Harvest from 2020, which apparently is like this one, only it deals with vampires, and the Amityville Uprising in 2022. So I don't know if that's on the wheel or not, but if it was anything like this one, I might actually check those two out, maybe extracurricular as an extra thing. I'm old and can't speak goodly. So we're going to move on and yeah, that one. We're going to move on and go through what we liked about the movie. So Del, why don't you lead us off there?
Okay. What I liked about this movie that was like I said, it as we've all noticed, it wasn't actually part of the shitty Amityville offshoots that we've been watching forever this month or this season. It was a werewolf movie, and as I said before, it wasn't The Howling by any means, which I know is a weird one maybe to benchmark, but I think I use that as a. Would you guys agree that that's a pretty decent benchmark for werewolf movies, at least? I mean, an older one maybe, but
Sounds fair.
I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, so I mean, because we get into the more modern stuff, and what's her name in the sexy black suit and the vampires and everything. That's just over the top. But so they had some good costuming choices, I think, and the transformation was actually pretty decent. It was long. They were definitely using it for filler, but they didn't just have look away. Oh look, it's a $10 Walmart costume. It wasn't the best werewolf outfit in the world when you see the whole thing, but the face was really nice. The transformation was somewhat decent. They had some references to Little Red Riding Hood in it and stuff, which was kind of cheesy. That's why come here, Little Red. And the building was a mess, but they tried to make a movie that had it had a full plot. There was a reason why the werewolf existed. There was a reason why these halfway house girls were being given to the werewolf, and they actually had the subplots with like escaping and what were you doing behind your back, and the girls had okay stories. The ones that they actually got into, but they tried to build some depth of character, and those were the things that I basically liked about it. So there you go.
All right. Friday, what did you like about this movie?
I didn't expect that something that would add stars to my my roster would be whether or not the movie I was watching had a plot until some of the ones we've done. It had a plot. It had subplot. It tried. It was actually better. Actually, and some of it's better than episodes of Paw Patrol. So yeah, my kid will kill me if he heard me say that. I enjoyed the fact that they did put it in like a halfway house, and every and tried to have that type of storyline mixed with werewolves. I hadn't exactly seen that part before. And they tried to make you wonder whether or not it was a different nun or priest that was the werewolf. They tried. So I really love that it was that, and it had nothing to do with any other Amityville movie we've watched.
That's always a plus. So, Chaos, what did you like about this movie?
One of the main things I liked about this movie, other than the fact what everybody else has said so far about how it actually had a plot and stuff, was the fact that it made an attempt. It didn't do exceptionally well at the attempt, but it actually made the attempt of not completely showing the creature going around killing people, kind of keeping it partially out of view through most of the movie until you had a kind of a bigger reveal, a full reveal towards the end.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, all right. Tom Dog, let us know what you liked about the movie.
Absolutely. The plot, which was very passable. The twist about who was the werewolf, that was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I like the pacing of the movie, even though it was a little bit slow. It was still decent for a 90-minute film. The violence, and in past reviews that I've been on here, I've always said that if it's done right, they actually did a very good job, and I wasn't upset. I wasn't really upset with the with that one scene with the face off. It looked like chocolate sauce, and but with the shading, with the shadowing and everything like that, I couldn't tell. So thank you, Amityville Moon, for actually doing doing the violence right. And putting the chocolate sauce if you used it. So
oh yeah,
that's how you do.
Now, do you think if they shot this entirely in black and white, that it would have been a lot more effective? Because I know in Psycho, the blood that was going down the drain after the famous shower scene, that was actually chocolate sauce itself. But because it was black and white, so
I would have loved it if it was in black and white. I would have loved this movie a lot better. If it was done that.
So I think a lot of movies would benefit from the black and white experience a lot more.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there.
And then one more thing. It had a nice little. It kind of reminded me of a syndicated show, action series, like a spinoff to Renegade. That's how I looked at it. That never made air.
Okay.
And that.
Well, that's a reference.
Yes.
There were no motorcycles in it, so I don't see it.
No.
Yeah. But there was a biker gang.
It was a biker gang, just no motorcycles.
Yes.
Ron, what did you like about this movie?
I like the fact that there was one single contiguous storyline that held through the entire movie, and all of the subplots were there because they actually supported the main storyline instead of going off on tangents with no real resolutions for those subplots. So this one held together fairly well. I thought because of that, it was fairly well written. They tried to give a lot of the characters some depth, especially with the girls in group telling their background stories, giving you reasons why they're there. To me, in my mind, those felt like auditions for script readings. Like they would call a girl in and say, "Okay, read these lines. Do it in a dramatic way, and if it's good, then they call you back, and you get that spot." And I felt like that's what this group session was, where the girls were telling their background stories. It felt like script readings, and they were pretty decent. So I no major issues there at all. They kind of kept you guessing on who the werewolf was actually going to be, but you knew that the nun and Father Peter, they knew what was going on, and they were hiding something. They weren't telling anybody. So there was a little bit of tension built up there, which I liked that a lot too. And I thought that it was really interesting that the cop, Robbie Kimball, that he's like the main character of the story. He's supposedly getting an easy task, and it turns out that it's a lot harder, which is usually the case. And they killed him off. Spoiler alert, obviously, but they killed him off, and that almost never happens in a movie where they introduce someone as a main character like that. And the whole movie just kind of leaves you guessing who is the final girl going to be. And I thought that was really interesting, just the way that they did it, because you don't normally see it done like that before. So somebody was thinking, what would make the greatest impact and give the biggest effect for who we want to kill. Obviously some characters were there because they had to be killed off, but who are we going to leave as the final, and what's going to happen with the main character and all of that. So yeah, in those regards, I think that this one actually held together pretty well as a nice solid story. And to me, that was like the most impressive aspect of it. I thought they did a good job with the transformation scene. It reminded me a little bit of the transformation scene from American Werewolf in London. But if you notice in American Werewolf in London, they do a lot of close-up shots of the transformation, and then they back off. So you see the full body transformation as it's happening as well. This one didn't do the full body transformation as much, but you can tell that they spent a little bit of money on the budget for the actual transformation. And that was probably their biggest special effects that they had. And, for that, just because they actually put some time into the transformation scene, I think that really kind of upheld the story as well. So for me, I mean, that's a big bonus. That's a plus right there.
Yeah. Well, as far as I'm concerned, basically, I do agree. The werewolf creature design is actually pretty good. It's clearly a person in the suit, but it's still visually effective and used to really good effect. Despite the slow burn style, the movie is paced well and keeps things at a nice trim 90 minutes, which I appreciated, especially since, Amityville Karen kind of ran a bit over. God, I hate that movie. Anyway, the twist behind the werewolf is actually rather interesting. And you gotta love a movie that really knows how to let loose and chew the scenery. And I'm talking about that group therapy scene when they get into the fight. I was like mentally putting in like, wow, cat fight noises over top, just kind of giggling to myself. So that brings us to what we didn't like about the movie. Del, welcome back, and why don't you head that off there?
Sorry, I had that up when I was rebooting. I didn't like the way the girl ate popcorn during the fucking poker game, and I wanted to punch her in the face so bad.
Yes.
I was waiting for somebody to call her out, and nobody ever did. And I was just like, I mean, they're calling her, they're yelling at her for everything about her life except for how she eats popcorn. And I really, really, really she needed a throat punch or something. I don't know. I'm just saying. The ending was weird. How I mean, there were some really interesting moments. Like, okay, going back to a good moment, there was the like when the werewolf like claws the girl's face off, and she's like, you see it from her point. She's trying to keep her skin over her eyes so she can see, and then her face just falls off. But then there's other where it's just like whack, blood splatter, dead. And it didn't really. It wasn't consistently gory. There was just too much. There was a great one. And then and then we need to kill off 5 people so that it's more dramatic. But we aren't going to kill them off in any dramatic fashion. We're just going to have them whack, chew, yum. Okay, look, she's eating someone. Yay. And they're like, oh, and we need to use the phone. And the only phone in the entire building. Seriously, come on. Even back then, when they had cell phones, the only phone in the entire building was a landline. Not and so it just kind of ended really flat for me. It was just like, stop. Okay, we're done. We ran out of budget. We only have 10 seconds left. Oh, give her a hug. That'll make it better. Okay. That kind of threw me. I was expecting some kind of actual ending. We got the explanation, but I wanted an end that actually had some sort of oomph. Police are on their way. The girl's going to call her dad, who's a lawyer. Everybody's is he dead? Or are they not? I don't know. No, we're just going to sit there while the phone rings and give somebody a hug. So that kind of annoyed me.
Okay. Was there anything else?
I mean, there was actually quite a decent amount of it that it wasn't, like I say, it wasn't terrible. It was just kind of like, okay, we're just watching. I didn't really overly enjoy it, and I didn't really overly hate it. It was just kind of it was a werewolf movie. It hit all the right points. It just, the pacing maybe wasn't the best, and they should have stayed more consistent on the kill level. 1 or 2 off-screen kills, that's fine. But if you're going to give us a really good one at the beginning, give us a couple of more really good ones, because that was great, and you blew it in the first couple of minutes.
Well, they pulled off a limb that was found later.
Yeah, but they had all these great stalking things, and when she's waiting and hiding, and it's coming up to find her, and that was great, but they didn't keep up with that. They just had, they have the tension of okay, all the girls are hiding in different parts of this house, and the wolf is stalking, but you don't really see it you hear random screams here and there, but it wasn't following any one of the characters for a long enough period of time to keep the tension building to where oh, they finally see the wolf. No, it's just and this person's hiding, and this person's hiding, and this person's bleeding, and this person's going to get towels. So I wish they'd done better there.
And this one's the redhead, but
yeah.
Anyway, all right. Friday, what didn't you like about the movie?
The wolf did not act like a wolf. There was a whole lot of shoehorned, unearned plot points. They were forced in to make the plot work, but you didn't see how they would actually work with the plot. I agree with her. They did not do any consistent killing. They did not make it feel more like a werewolf movie should. She should have used her senses. They should have added a little bit more work to the girls' stories to make them a little bit more believable. The snarkiness was good, but also you didn't have the true bullshit you would have in that situation if you were coming off drugs or trying to get past other things. You didn't have the mental anguish you're supposed to have. I've been around this shit for way too long. they didn't have the proper earned points. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop there because I have a long list. But yeah,
No, by all means, just let yourself go. Let yourself
okay.
Time for a Jenny
Dude,
rant.
If you've been hooking and you've been on drugs, you have DTs when you come off drugs. You have mood swings. You have them feeling things and seeing things. You have them snarking on each other. You have them trying to seduce the guys just because they think they can. You have all sorts of different sorts of different things that women would do in those situations because they grew up in this being competitive and traumatized. So you would see it in their behavior. Werewolves, okay? It is a werewolf. Every good werewolf story has it using its senses, has it using its smell, its vision, its hearing to find things. You would have saw a hunt, not a creeping along. Yes, they did do a good job on trying to do the transformation scenes, but did she do the movements? Not really. There's so much more you could have added without budget to make this better, to make it seem more real, even though it was low budget. It could have been a beautiful low budget movie, but they didn't do proper story building on character building. There's so many character building things you could have done to make the movie better without spending a dime. So I don't know if any of that makes sense, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, they could have easily saved a little bit of money and done like werewolf vision. From the point of view of the werewolf stalking the people. I totally agree. Chaos, what didn't you like about this movie?
Well, Jenny covered 90% of it.
Okay.
And going back to what Del said earlier, I do have to take a little sidestep. In some halfway houses, they do only have one phone, so the workers at the halfway house can control and monitor the calls in and out. So that
good point.
The fact that the only phone getting destroyed is kind of viable in the situation they were in.
I did not know that. Thank you. That is a good point.
Not a problem. But other than that, as I said, Jenny covered most of the same points I hadn't. Said them better too.
Okay.
Because Batman no English good.
It is a Monday night, but Tom Dog, what didn't you like about the movie?
Okay. Not really much to complain about, but there were a lot of nitpicks that I saw. First off, the ending of the movie could have been ended a lot better. I was expecting like maybe hearing, as soon as she got out of the house, we would have seen the like sirens in the background. I think that would have been a lot better. That was a nitpick. I did not like the communication between the girl and the detective in the car after they got out of the Barker bar. It just kept dragging on forever. That was like the only slow part in the movie. It's just like, I was like, okay, can we move the movie along, please? And another thing I did not like, well, basically, it's more of a nitpick. The werewolf, even though the costume was nice, it just to me, the werewolf kind of looked like a hand-me-down from Creepshow. You know, that one scene that killed Adrienne Barbeau. That scene. And that's what, and to me, I was laughing at that. It was, you know, this is like, you know, the werewolf is right there, and it's like, you know, make it a little bit more menacing instead of that. But the costume was good, you know. It wasn't like a spirit Halloween hand me down, thank God. But the transformation could have been done a lot better, and with the budget that they used, I mean, the limb was nice, but the transformation, I mean, should have been a little bit better, just a tad.
Okay. Yeah. Valid,
and
valid.
and one more thing about that, the fact that it should not have been called Amityville. They could have given us something else, but if you're going to use the Amityville name, at least they should have used like let's say that this was the original Amityville house, remodeled into a halfway house. I think if you're going to use the Amityville, do it that way. Then it would have made more sense instead of just giving it the name, you know, using the name. You know, I think that would have made some sort of justification for that. But
okay, but how would that tie into the whole werewolf thing?
like, you know, basically what they could do with the whole werewolf thing, they could, that there was something in that house that was used 10 years, you know, that was 10 years ago, the where the basis of that film was, and how it started off. And I would say that maybe that there was some sort of curse to put it in, you know, to put it in there to make it, to give it more of a werewolf theme. Be creative. Like maybe like
okay,
like there was a maybe like there was a dog that ran loose in between remodeling and everything like that, or a wolf or whatever, and it bit the person.
that would need to be worked on, I think,
Yeah,
to be plausible. But
yeah, it's too much cut and tape.
yeah.
Or cut and paste rather.
So, Del, you had a mention.
Yeah, you're talking about Amityville Harvest and Amityville Uprising that this director also did. Did either of those actually tie into the Amityville house, or were they all just set in the city of Amityville or the town?
I don't know.
Okay.
I was just looking at the director's list of movies.
Because going with what Tom Dog was saying, I think it might have been like this one is one of the magic films that found itself on our list that has to do with it being set in Amityville, but maybe didn't actually try to cash in on the Amityville horror. It just, because the whatever reform place was set in the town of Amityville, they weren't so much trying to, they just used it as where it was at. It could have been the Springfield moon, you know, or wherever else you wanted to grab it. But it is like, it's one of those things where like, you probably could have picked a better town name if you weren't trying to drop it. Like if you're a horror movie director and you're making 3 films, you should know that using Amityville is going to give some sort of expectation to people that they're expecting there to be some tie-in to the house. But yeah, I'm not sure if they were just sadly confused or were trying to get views just because they mentioned it and then not utilizing any of the proper lore at all.
You know, something that popped in my mind just now as you were discussing this, what I'd love to see, if they haven't made it already, is like a movie, an Amityville movie that's based on like, oh, this is an ice cream scoop that came from the Amityville house, boogie boogie boogie, and then have it set at a Baskin Robbins or something.
Are we
I
gonna
don't
get
know.
Clint Howard in that one?
Yes.
Oh, please, yes.
Yes. Yeah. The movie writes itself. For all you directors watching this, and I know you do. So
Do it. Do it. Catch him, kill him, catch him, kill him, catch him,
do it
kill him, catch him,
now.
kill him.
Pudding. Anyway, Ron, what didn't you like about this movie?
Well, Tom Dog actually stole my first comment about the name. Once I realized that this movie had absolutely nothing to do with the Amityville franchise, I actually did my own Google search to see if I could find out where this movie was filmed. Perhaps it may have been filmed on location in Amityville, New York. I thought that might be a good tie-in, because then if they call it Amityville Moon, that would make sense because it's filmed in Amityville, New York. It does say in the credits, special thanks to California and to the state of New York. So I think probably parts of it might have been filmed in New York and parts of it might have been filmed in California. But it's kind of hard to tell, because the entire movie, with few exceptions, is actually shot indoors. So you never really see much of the surrounding area outside of this halfway house. And any footage that they have of New York is just stock footage of the skyline. In fact, if you watch the entire movie, there is no shot of the moon at all. And that's really weird for a werewolf movie, to not have at least one shot of the passing moon overhead, which causes the transformation. The transformation just happens. It's at night, because it's between the hours 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. So when you would expect the moon to be out. So, okay, transformation happens at night. But the transformation happens at other times when people are dying, and you don't know if it's day or night, or does this person who is the werewolf have control of their ability to transform at any given time, regardless of what the lunar cycle actually is. That's never really explained. So to Tom Dog's point about the name, I'm actually okay with the name Amityville Moon if you do mention in the movie that, yes, this is supposed to be Amityville, New York. You could have put a line in the movie, and I would say from the internal affairs guy or the police chief or whatever the hell he is, Robbie's boss, to say, I need you to find these girls. We have enough to deal with around here, with people trying to go up to the Amityville house and do their paranormal investigations, and things are just crazy, even though it's all bullshit and none of that shit ever happened because it's just a movie. Then you would establish that, yes, this is Amityville, but no, we have nothing to do with the franchise. And the movie could move along with the name Amityville Moon, and everything would have been fun. Now we got a freaking werewolf on our hands. This is all we really need when people are trying to cash in on the hype of, the Amityville house and causing us problems on a daily basis. That would have been fine. I could see that happening, but the writers lost an opportunity to do something like that, which they really could have changed or just added one or two lines to establish that fact, and I would have been okay with it. Well, like I said before, the story still moves somewhat contiguously. It's pretty well held together, but they could have done a little bit more to explain why it's called Amityville Moon, even though there is no moon, and we don't know for sure that this is actually Amityville. All that aside, I don't have any major issues with the movie in and of itself. One glaring loophole. Robbie, when he's talking to the girl in the car outside the biker bar, he says, I don't believe in werewolves or witches or ghosts and goblins or anything like that. And he confiscates the gun from her that has the silver bullets. And we find out later he's got it tucked in his belt loop in the back. Okay, so when he sees the werewolf standing in front of him, and there is empirical evidence that, yes, this is in fact a gosh darn werewolf, what gun does he reach for? His service weapon and not the gun with the silver bullets that is in his belt loop at the back? Why would he, if he says, okay, wow, this is a werewolf, maybe I should use the silver bullets and shoot it? That movie could have ended a whole hell of a lot quicker, but he didn't reach for that gun. He gets beat down, and then the girl comes back in later, pulls the gun out of his belt, and then shoots the werewolf because it has silver bullets. Why didn't he reach for that gun to begin with? So, that is my one glaring issue right there, that he should have used the gun with the silver bullets when he saw the werewolf standing there in front of him, but he did not. For the beating that Robbie took, it is implied that he is dead, but it is never actually proven that he is dead. We just don't see him get up. He could be unconscious. So this plays into what Del said about the ending and what Tom said about the ending. They could have done a little bit more with it. Leaving it on the girls on the stoop and the girl starts breaking down crying. It's okay ending because, we've got some closure at that point, but they could have done a drone shot where you start to see an aerial circular view of the ambulance, the people, the paramedics, and the police officers running into the house and, getting the stretcher out and the gurney, and then maybe have one shot of a police officer and do it in slow motion where he goes into the house and then he comes back out and he starts hurling, he starts retching, like the gore is just too much for him to handle, and he starts throwing up and, putting the girls on the stretcher and all of that. Like you can feel a sense of the macabre at that point. And it would give a little bit more dramatic closure to the ending. That the werewolf's dead because you see the lady with the bullet hole in her head. So obviously that's not an issue. And to Tom's statement about what could have been done with to tie it into the franchise, having some knick-knack that used to be in the original Amityville house, or maybe putting the halfway house in the original Amityville house. Father Peter does explain how the werewolf became created, because they were on a trip to Brazil and she got bit. And that's what turned her into the werewolf. And they have been feeding these girls to the werewolf ever since. So the origin for the werewolf is explained, and it had absolutely nothing to do with the Amityville franchise. And I'm okay with that too, as far as that goes. But there are a lot of people that got attacked by the werewolf. How come none of them lived, and maybe you find out that one of them survived and they end up becoming the next werewolf in the chain because they were bitten? Maybe have one girl that's escaping from the house and you see her like holding her neck or something and she's all covered in blood and she's just escaping from the house, and then you might be able to have a shot of her under the moon and her eyes start to glow or something like that. And that could have been a good ending as well, which would have led it open for a possible sequel, because the ending, it doesn't have great closure, but it has potential. So I think that with a little bit of reworking, this could have led to something, and maybe starting its own franchise, but they would have had to change the name so they would not conflict with Amityville franchise itself. So I'm kind of with Tom on that one, that I don't care for the name. It's a great name, it really is, Amityville Moon, but because it's not part of the franchise and they didn't set up that it's actually in Amityville, they really should have changed it to something else. And that was a lot. So
okay.
Very fair.
Very fair, yeah. I'm wondering though if they were kind of toying around with going with like Amityville Werewolf as the title, and thought that's just too on the nose or whatever. And I was also thinking, since while you were going through all that, they could have used the Moonlight Drive by the Doors as the ending credit music. But that would have cost money, I think. So So enough of that. But as far as what I didn't like about the movie, this is kind of a pet peeve for me for a lot of movies through the decades. And the girls in that home are clearly in their 30s that and trying to act like they were teenagers with a lot of their forced mannerisms, I think. But again, that's kind of a pet peeve. I understand why they didn't use actual teenagers, but yeah. Kimball, Dell, you look like you're about to say something about that.
Yeah, actually, I don't believe it was actually supposed to be teenagers because they had girls that were legally dancing at clubs, and there really are. Based on my experiences with the people around here and the people I've had in my home, adult rehab is a very big thing, and it
Okay.
is people those ages who still act like they have kind of the teenage mannerisms that just never really grew up past. Fuck you, bitch! I'm gonna do this, and oh yeah, girl, check that booty and shit. That there are a lot of adults that fall into that I've met who are in those type of situations that's actually just how they are. It's
Wow.
it's a real thing. They, as Jenny pointed out, they generally have a bit more trauma if they're depending on how long they'd been there, if they're detoxing or whatnot. But there are a lot of adult women who that's where they're going to be, and that's how they do act. It's
Wow.
that's to me even more annoying than the fact that it would be easier if they had been teenagers and that was how they acted. But there are adults that really do behave like that, and I've met quite a few of them, and it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
One more point.
Yeah.
Father Michael, we have not mentioned him because he's such a complete extraneous character. Why was he even in the movie? He served absolutely no purpose whatsoever except for somebody to kill.
2 words, kill fodder. But
I know. But you already had enough kill fodder with all of the other girls. Why did you need him?
He's the only actual religious person in the entire movie.
Well, with that haircut, I was thinking that's going to be the creeper guy, isn't it? But Tom
It didn't turn out that way. They didn't really develop his character. He had barely no dialogue whatsoever. It was just, why was he even there?
His haircut was his personality,
I guess. Yeah.
I do want to add something with that haircut. He kind of looked like a young Gary Oldman from The Fifth Element.
I was thinking Steve Buscemi.
Okay.
Dead.
But Tom, you had a thought about the Southern girl.
Yes, and it was one thing I forgot to mention in my dislikes. She was in the wrong movie.
Mm-hmm.
The Southern accent girl was in the wrong movie. She should have been the Amityville Karen.
No.
That. Yeah.
I don't know, man, because the lady that played the Amityville Karen, she was very much a Karen. I did not like her at all.
I fucking hated that bitch.
I never finished watching the movie, and I probably will never finish watching that movie. It was that bad. But anyway, we're on a different movie now, so let's go with that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, moving along here, the rest of my notes.
But are we? We're not letting you. You just keep interrupting, James. Okay. UncleNecRo, sorry, you keep reminding us stuff, and we're all like, while you're saying this, we forgot. But now that you brought it up, I want to bitch about this too. Oh, sorry. Okay.
All right, go ahead, James. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I slightly disagree with the previous statement. I think was it Detective Kimball? That was his rank, not just officer, but he makes for a bland police protagonist. He's not really achieving a true arc with the whole excessive force charge thing, simply not being more of a plot device to get him to investigate. They didn't really dive into that, or he didn't, talk a little bit about why he was not on the force for a while. that would have given him a little bit more of a character arc, I guess. But they kind of dropped the ball on that. I have down most of the cast are typed up in stereo, being little more than archetypes, existing to be murdered as the movie goes on. The movie struggled to establish who the female lead was. It was either Alyssa or Mandy, the redheaded one, with the final girl in the climax emerging more by default than anything. The spoilers, it was Alyssa, girl at the beginning.
And surprisingly, the stupid girl who ran out of safety to go get towels to save the other injured girl didn't fucking die. Like, yeah. I'm in a safe room. I'm going to run and be a hero. Usually that means you immediately die. And she didn't. And her dad's a lawyer. But
that'll help.
Sorry, interrupted James again.
Who's this James person you speak of?
It's UncleNecRo. UncleNecRo, I am sorry. Please.
There is no James, only UncleNecRo.
The Orkin Man.
The Orkin Man?
Necro spelled backwards.
Ooh. Okay. Anyway, pudding.
Pudding.
Okay, and the last thing I wanted to point out, the bar scene, the bar fight sequence was unintentionally hilarious. That needed some yakety sax thrown in, just to, at least make it entertaining. Yeah. Otherwise, it was just boom, boom, boom. Who's next? I'm going to take. Okay, those were possibly the most milquetoast bikers one can come across. I mean, but anyway, we're going to take some time now to pay some bills, and when we come back, we'll go ahead and give our recommendations and ratings. And well, there weren't really any 5-star reviews on Amazon Beyond. It was good. I liked it, which doesn't make it for, Anyway, let's go ahead and, like I said, pay some bills. We'll be right back. So roll the thing.
Jenny, can you be producer lady? Because Dell sucks tonight. She can't push buttons. They don't work.
Greetings and shabibans. We are the Retro Reductopus Cephala Podcast, a long-form bi-weekly show that celebrates all the things that made growing up awesome.
Yeah, that sounds good, but I don't know what all those words mean.
I think what Parasite seems trying to say is that on Retro Reductopus, we explore a range of retro goodness, from toys, video games, and movies, to cartoons, and even snacks and school lunches.
Oh. And we do it all with a positive spin, a slew of killer guests, and some very adult language.
And you know what else is cool?
No.
This crazy show is part of the Door King Podcast Network with new episodes every Tentacle Tuesday.
What's that?
And if waiting 2 weeks for a new episode gives you a sad, know that we drop bonus episodes all the time, like the off-format Crow's Nest and an interview series we call The Brig.
You can listen to Retro Reductopus on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or any app that's cool enough to carry the only show that celebrates all the things that make growing up awesome.
And welcome back. So, we have some books we want to plug like we always do. Friday, what do we have?
We have, if I can find them again, there's books. This one.
Books.
We have 3 authors here tonight that are in it. UncleNecRo, J. Melton Case the second. Yes, you do have to claim the other name now because you have 2 stories they must go read. And if they really want to enjoy it, one of them they can listen to on one of our previous satellite societies. You have stories about ghosts. You have stories about science fairs. You have stories about Gronk. You need to go find out what a Gronk is, and you need to love Gronk like we do. And of course,
Gronk is the sound I make in the morning.
That wouldn't
Great
surprise
Ma.
me.
You need to go find out why you're going to love Great Ma and her story. Great Ma makes me so happy, and I loved her story so much. And please, for the love of God, go check out my kid's drawing. If anything, please tell my kid she had a great spider. Because we wrote a poem together, and my monster's taller than my trees. But anyway, please go check it out. There's so many great stories. Because we've got Raz T Slasher, Ray Isles, he's a teacher. Go support the teachers. And you have Serena Musgraves and others. And, of course, we have the Allied Menagerie. We have a story that never ends. It keeps going on and on, my friend. But it's and, yeah. Raz's story. There are stories about angels. There's stories about owls and mice that witness things that they never expected. And they see things they probably never expected too. And there's a ghost story. And there's a story about something that's inside of a car. And so many other things. Please go check it out. All proceeds for the first year goes to pro literacy. Every adult has a right to literacy. Yes, please read our book so others can learn to read, or just go make a donation. We'd be happy if you made a donation too, but we also want you to see all these amazing stories.
Absolutely.
You are literate.
Some fantastic reading choices there. As opposed to the anti-literacy one we tried to go with originally, they take a person and smack him on the back of the head with a frying pan. But we decided that would be not good for our image. So
that was why Harry Potter was only good at one spell. Because Aunt Petunia just got him.
I'm thinking that everybody that buys the books and the proceeds go to pro literacy, we could consider them members of the proletariat.
Proletariat? I've never heard of that.
That was
word
one.
before.
One.
We are counting.
You got one more.
Anyway, we're finally at the ratings and recommendations portion of our show, people. So, Del, what would you rate this movie, and would you recommend it?
Based on the hell that this season has been, that I totally own putting us through this. Mm-hmm. This is all me that's making us have to fucking deal with this. This one has jumped up. I'm giving it a fucking. Oh God, I'm gonna go high here. I'm gonna go back to it. I'm gonna go 6.5. I'm gonna put it between, because I actually didn't feel horrible when I finished watching this. I mean, it wasn't like the best spent time in the world, but I didn't feel like I wanted it all back. I was better with this movie than a lot of other things that I have made us watch. So I'm giving it a 6. As far as recommendations go, this actually wouldn't go to people who like just trashy cheese horror. This would be to people who are into werewolf movies and stuff. I would maybe suggest this as a not so great, but if you have nothing better to do, if you can find it, because it is also a difficult movie to find. So I wouldn't suggest spending your money on it. But if it's there and you have the ability to watch it and you have nothing better going on, go for it.
Okay. Friday, what would you rate this and would you recommend it?
Compared to the last two, yeah, I would definitely give it a 6. If you are bored looking for something to do, possibly, but considering it's really hard to find, it's not something I'd tell people to go look for.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. Fair enough. Chaos. Same question.
I oddly, in a roundabout way, have already recommended it to a coworker. So, technically, yeah. And my rating would probably be about 6.5.
Okay. All right. Tom Dog.
Okay. Given for what it was and everything like that, this was a watchable film. And I also came in with anticipation that I wasn't going to like this and I was going to trash on it. I was wrong. However, with the name and everything, I'm basically going to acknowledge it as the halfway house of horror. That's what it should be. And
okay.
And with that being said, I'm actually going to give this an even higher grade. That I'm actually going to give it a solid 8 out of 10.
Wow.
Oh.
And
okay.
This was actually a really watchable independent film, and I was hardly disappointed, even though with the bad stuff in it, it was watchable. And would I recommend it? If you're into cheap, low budget indie films, I'd say absolutely. It's like it gives my recommendation, and I found this movie on Peacock. So if you have Peacock, by all means, watch it. But yeah, other than that, I was impressed by the film.
Okay. Ron, rating and would you recommend it?
I unfortunately cannot be as generous as Tom for this particular movie. I was all set and ready to give this movie a solid 3. I was thinking we were doing best out of 5, and I was going to give it a 3 out of 5 until Dell said that she was going to give it a 6, and I realized we were doing a rating out of 10. So I had to rethink my rating. As you know, for the past movies that we've done, House of the Dead has been my standard for rating movies by, because I gave it a 5. This movie, however, I did not dislike. I was actually pleasantly surprised that it was as good as it was. So I'm seriously tempted to give this movie a 5 and possibly bump House of the Dead up to a 6, because I don't think they quite range on the same scale, since House of the Dead was a bigger budget movie with far more action packed, and actually, came out in the theaters and based on a video game. So they had more money to play with it. Since this is an indie film with a very low budget, for what they did with the effects that they had, I thought that they did a good job. And as I harp on writing all the time, this one was actually better written. So yeah, I think I'm going to give this one a solid 5 out of 10. And as far as recommendations go, if people say, can you name me a good werewolf movie? This is probably not the first movie that's going to come to mind. American Werewolf in London, The Howling, what's the other one? Clan of the Wolf or something like that. I can't think of the name of it. There's a lot of better werewolf movies out there. But if me and a friend were scrolling through things trying to find something to watch, and we saw this one in the list and read the description of it and said, you want to give that one a try? Okay, yeah, sure, I'm game. That's probably how I would end up recommending it. Like, yeah, I've seen that. It's not bad. It's all right. But if you want to watch it, we can watch it. That's probably how I would recommend it.
Yeah. So Ron, you've been a resident of the Tomb for a while, and we've always done 10-star reviews. Was the is the current haunting season been that kind of stressful? You forgot?
James, to be honest with you, I think it's the fact that we've had such shitty movies lately that I've been giving 1 and 2s that I was like, I'm going to be generous and give this one a 3 because it's been better than all the other movies that we watched. I just completely lost the fact that we're actually doing them out of 10.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
well, we did do that 5 rating for the first season.
Well, a couple of times, yeah, but we've since then evolved. So, as far as I go, I'm giving it a 7. I'm just going off of it as a movie in and of itself. As an Amityville tie-in, it's not. It barely is. But as an independent werewolf movie, this one is actually pretty decent. Despite its flaws. I do agree with Ron, though. If you really want a really good werewolf movie, there are others, like An American Werewolf in London, the Ginger Snap trilogy, Dog Soldiers. Look up one of those. But if your tastes veer toward the low-budget type, as Tom Dog mentioned, yes, I would certainly recommend this. Now, as I mentioned, as far as 5-star reviews go, I usually look them up on Amazon and see exactly what the unwashed masses would have said about a movie like this. But there was only a couple, and they both were like, it was good, I liked it, and that's just not entertaining enough. But Dell has a review from our honorary Tomb member, Sam, who was here last week. And we're going to have her read his review of this. So whenever you're ready.
Sam Panico's B&S About Movies. He is listed in our credits now because he's been joining us. Unfortunately, the initial part of the review is written to the tune of The Ghost of Tom Joad by Bruce Springsteen. And though I do enjoy The Boss, I do not know this particular song. This is a cold read, by the way. I just saw it at the beginning. Man walking through the Walmart store has so many DVDs, needs so many more. Looking at covers to see what catches the eye. What Amityville is this? 75? Is that a werewolf I spy on the case? What's next? Amityville in space? My wife sleeps as I watch all this mess. No taste, no standards, no limit, no rest. Well, the internet highway is alive tonight, but nobody kidding, this movie's any good. I'm sitting here in front of my TV watching the multiple ghosts of Ron DeFeo. Now, Sam said, wherever the cop comes from Amityville, wherever a hungry Amityville shark appears, where there's a monkey that's possessed a half-star review in the air, look for me, I'll be there. Wherever a family fights a possessed clock or an evil lamp or is in 3D, wherever a demon is trying to get free, look in your eyes and you'll see me. You'll see me. So this movie, surprise, has nothing to do with Amityville. It does have something to do with a halfway house and a werewolf. And how did Lionsgate, a somewhat major studio, sully their hands with this? Thomas J. Churchill also made The Amityville Harvest, which I'm sure I'll be watching soon enough, and just finished Amityville Uprising, in which a chemical blast at a military base sets off a supernatural disaster in this tense action horror thriller, unquote. Oh no. Oh no. This also has Cody Renee Cameron in it, whose IMDb describes her as a cool cocktail comprised of raw acting talent and badass stunt work sprinkled with sexy, then shaken and poured into a chilled glass. She should have written this movie, or maybe her publicist, because that's better than anything I just sat through. Tuesday Night, with a K, from A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, is also on hand, and she just made a movie called Amityville Bigfoot. And seriously, they're just making movies for me now to make me have crossover between my Letterboxd lists. The newest entry to the Amityville franchise follows a new story with Bigfoot and a new terror in the very special house, says IMDb, and who directed it? Sean C. Phillips, who is also making Amityville Karen and Amityville Shark House, because we need 2 shark movies set in Amityville. There's also Amityville Thanksgiving coming. You know it's bad when Common Sense Media, in their review of is this proper for your family or not, includes this discussion question. Families can talk about sequels that aren't really sequels, like the Amityville Moon. What do you think Hollywood makes so-called sequels that have little, if anything, to do with the previous movies in the series? I wish my parents had talked to me about Amityville sequels, but it's too late. It's just too late. I'm up at 4 a.m. watching movies like this when I should be sleeping. But you need me, don't you, dear reader? If anything, I'm protecting you from 112 Ocean Avenue. The end. That was our dear missing Sean Panico's review. I hope I did him justice.
I quite enjoyed it.
Well, that made my nipples hard. So
I wish I knew this song so I could have sang it, because that would have made it flow better. But I didn't
really
have time.
I wish we could have set up that with a nice introduction. And now for a dramatic reading from Delphine.
That's what I tend to do when I give reviews.
Have that jazzy boom 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 boom.
Yeah, music in the background.
So, guys, I have to let everybody know that currently my computer is. I have no idea what happened, but between last night and today, my computer kind of quit almost working. It's running so slow. I have not been able to see any of the things that we've shown up as videos. The entire 3-minute intro was nothing for me. I saw like one clip. I can't hear when we push videos. I can't see when we put stuff up. I can't do anything. And I am the one who is in charge of the Wheel of the Terrible. And unfortunately, I can't make it appear on my screen, even to the point where I could send it to one of these guys to actually spin. It will not load. This is what's going on with my computer. I need to go fix it. I think I screwed up a setting in something when I was playing with it last night. So we are unable to do the Wheel of the Terrible to tell you what awful Amityville horrible we will be watching next week. That is entirely my fault, and I am so sorry. But once I get my computer working again, I will definitely get it up, and we will post an announcement, and we will let you know what's going on for next week.
It's not the first time we've done that, so
yeah, all on me on this one. I have no idea what I did, but I can barely see anything happening in this broadcast, so
no worries.
It's just frozen people.
If I was completely angry at you, I would have made you watch Manos: The Hands of Fate again. So, no. We timed that pretty well, didn't we? More booze,
Or
please.
Or you could have me do Manos in the Hands of Fate in the voice of Nick Cage.
Fuck you, Tom. Fuck you up
Oh, dude.
so hard.
I'm going to go with negatory Ghost Rider. How about that? How about no?
Pass. Hard pass.
Oh, dude. Oh, wow. Oh, that's just evil.
This is what you get.
Come on, Nick Cage's Torgo is my funny bit.
Do you see, Larry? Do you see?
Oh, wow. Oh, no, where can we find you?
Oh, Christ. You can find me here on the Owlite Network. You can find me if you go to Carrie, Kari Sanders, on Facebook. If you see this, it is me. I'm assuming it's up there right now because I can't actually fucking see it, but I am judging you. Yes, I am. Particularly you, Tom Dog. Particularly you. And you can also catch me with that list. You can find my author page. You can find everything to do about Owlite. You can find weird shit that I don't even update. But you can also find me on splash pages that I just got done recording New York Comic Con news for 2 minutes before I hopped on here. And tomorrow night we are bringing back the amazing Mark Waid. So you have to come. We have no news. We have no variant watch. We have a full time to just take on Mark Waid. So if you have questions for Mark Waid, bring them. Come on, show up, ask, fill up the comments, give us some time. And next week on Sunday, I'm going to be interviewing this author named Jenny Elliott.
Who's that?
She's going to be on a clutch. She's going to tell us about her stories, and she's got a name around here. I don't know. You might want to. Let's ask Friday about her. Friday, where can I find Jenny Elliott?
I seem to be masquerading as her when I'm outside of the closet. I have to pretend to be human, so I masquerade as her. And I do things like write ghost stories and poetry and hang out with you people and make weird little commercials about your stories.
Okay. And that certainly takes a lot from what I have to do here. But I was about to ask you where we can find you Friday.
Oh, me? I hide here
in the closet
at Owlite Network in the closet. I have a hidey hole for Fakor here in the closet. Friday in the library in the blue box. And of course, my author page, Jennifer Elliott. So yeah.
Okay. Chaos, where can we find you?
hidden in the steamer truck with all the good puppets.
What?
I actually do have a steamer truck full of puppets in storage. So yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
There's a story behind
And
that.
as you can see, my hand's not up his rear.
Ooh, kinky.
Not yet, but so Tom Dog, Sweetie, where can we find you?
Well, after the show, you can find me 6 feet under after pissing off Dell. But if I'm lucky to survive, you can find me on YouTube at TomDog247. At Tom Arcade 69. I'm sorry for the Brill Pro channel. Still continuing with Ghostbusters month. We're going to be reviewing. I'm going to be reviewing Frozen Empire, the recent movie that just came out, and I'm having a blast with Ghostbusters month. It is so much fun, and next week I'm going to be doing 2 Channel X episodes. One of them is my actually it's going to be on an early time because Thursday being Halloween, I'm going to be doing my annual live stream, and it's going to be Ghostbusters the video game. So in honor of Ghostbusters month, and also got Wrestling Prime over the weekend, and a lot of fun stuff on there, and you can watch all that. And you never know when there's another review that I'm going to a product review that I'm going to be doing, and you never know, but there's only one way to know, and that's face hug that subscribe button.
So, out of morbid curiosity, have you tried the chicken Big Mac from McDonald's that they're doing?
Not only did I tried it, but I also reviewed it, and I had a nice cameo with my father.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
nice.
See,
yeah.
it was Friday when I tried that. I had my choice between stopping at either Burger King for the Wednesday Whopper or McDonald's for the chicken Big Mac. And I tried the chicken Big Mac, and my body immediately went, "Don't do that again, please." So,
Oh boy.
I
Strangely
have
enough,
to
I was
see-
able to stomach the chicken Big Mac.
Yeah,
I
is a
played
trick
this.
unto itself.
I play this game with my mom. I play Words with Friends on my Kindle with her, and I keep getting advertisements for the Big Mac and the chicken Big Mac, and I don't have the volume on, so I don't know what they're saying. But like, there's one that doesn't. There's like, it shows a Big Mac, then shows a chicken Big Mac, then shows a Big Mac, then shows a chicken Big Mac. I'm like, okay. And there's another one where it's like there's this Big Mac, and it kind of goes in and it kind of tilts to the side. And then it goes to another Big Mac that's getting a little bit bigger, and then it tilts to the side. And it's like, there's a Big Mac, and it's watching me. And I don't actually know what it's saying or what I'm supposed to feel like about that. But I feel like I'm being stalked by a Big Mac. I don't know. I just wanted to share
Somehow-
that because it fucked with me last night. I was like, why is the Big Mac staring at me? And then you mentioned it. So I'm like, oh, share time. This isn't group therapy. Oh, fuck. That's right.
Take that. We're going to take that premise and somehow try to tie it into the Amityville franchise. So,
Amityville, Big Mac.
Big Mac.
Yeah. Ron, where can we find you?
You can find me on my author page at Ronald W Gillespie Jr. -author on Facebook. You can also find me on TikTok under @Wolf Dojo, and that's Wolf with a U. I make martial arts related content. I am a martial artist by trade, so if that's the kind of thing that you're interested in, then go ahead and check it out. Although I've been kind of lax with it lately, I post every now and then. However, this Wednesday, you can find me on Chainer's Haunted Secrets here on the Owlite Network. And the fabulous Jenny Elliott will be interviewing me for all things haunt related. And you can hear my stories of being a professional haunter and my history and talk about what it's like to be a scare actor. So I would say check out Chainer's Haunted Secrets this Wednesday with me and the fabulous Jenny Elliott.
And Dante said he really liked your costume.
Okay.
Which one?
Nice.
The one with the coveralls. That's the video that popped up.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I was thrown together at the last minute.
All right. And all the best ones are.
UncleNecRo. Let me find you.
Yes. Yes.
Where can we find you?
Well, voice. Oh, great. The voices are back. I am your humble servant, UncleNecRo. You can find me here at the Tomb every Monday, reviewing movies. Bad, really bad, good, bad, ugly, whatever. You can also find me on Facebook. I'm sorry, I'm transfixed with Ron doing the fidgeting thing.
All right, sorry.
Wow. Anyway, but yeah, you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter, currently known as X, and Instagram. A couple of blogs. Yesterday, we Dell and I interviewed Clank and Pat from the Synth Pop Lullaby, and this was amazing because I got to interview somebody who was his music has been, I mentioned it as part of my own personal soundtrack since 1997, and I just wish all interactions with my favorite musicians were as awesome as that one was last night. Take a look at that. And that's pretty much Amityville.
Clank used to mow the yard next to the Amityville house.
Oh yeah,
We found out last night. We were
the,
talking. Oh yeah.
We'll have to have them watch the interview
teaser.
for that. Oh yeah. And so until next time, we'll, as we mentioned, we'll come back and make sure to let everybody know what we're going to torture you with next week. Until then, stay new to your friends and seek help.
Can I play the book videos now?
There is no help for us.
You can push all the buttons. I can't do anything. It's all Jenny. Push him, catch him, kill him, push a button.
I'm going to add 4 extra videos to the end because I can.
Okay.
Okay, that's the end of the ones I really wanted to show you. Anyway, here we go.